Mischief's premier fast casual raiding guild is obviously the Faceless. We did not do the Grand Slam achievement in Underfoot in Era, and we are not going to be doing it in Era. That is the topic of today's video. Now, that's a pretty direct statement and obvious complaint that I just said. There's one specific reason why we did not do the achievement. Before I get to that, let me remind you of the lore about the Grand Slam achievement. Underfoot is widely regarded as the most challenging expansion in Everquest. We all know the game has gotten easier over the years, for many reasons. Players on TLPs who are familiar with how difficult raids were back in the good old days certainly remember. Sometimes it is due to the various quality of life improvements, sometimes it is due to bugs being fixed, sometimes it's due to class balance changes, and of course the increasing amount of player knowledge and general familiarity also makes things simpler than it used to be back in the day. Even the strategies themselves, which used to be carefully guarded secrets, and for the most part, nowadays they're widely available to just about everybody. Mischief is no exception to making things easier, with her own loot system providing additional loot, not to mention that the gear on Mischief is tradable. Doing Grand Slam in Era is absolutely possible. As most of you surely remember, I wanted the Faceless to do it. I even challenged us to attempt what seemed impossible to some. I wanted us to do it on the first night of the expansion unlock. I made that challenge, admittedly without knowing any specific details about Underfoot, or even the raid. As I stated at that time, I had never raided Underfoot personally. Sure, I did some practice runs on tests with the guild, but clearing an expansion for the first time on the actual server unlock night is an entirely different matter. I think the specific challenge of beating even the expansion in one night would have been a lot to chew on. Possible, sure. But Underfoot just simply takes a lot of time. There are longer expansion clears in Underfoot, but a one-night clear is a bit much to expect, especially when TLP expansions unlock in the afternoon on Thursdays. However, now that I have obviously cleared Underfoot several times, I think my specific challenge should not have been to do Grand Slam on the first night, but to do it in the first 48 hours. On Mischief, the Faceless cleared Underfoot on December 8th at about 7:56 Central Time. That's PM. The expansion unlocked approximately 28.5 hours previously the day before. Our clear time is pretty good in my opinion, but this video is about Grand Slam. With Mischief's loot rolls where we get bonus loots and the loot being tradable, we could have made an attempt at doing Grand Slam in those first 48 hours. I feel fairly confident that most or all of our raid leaders would say that this is still impossible. Their opinion would certainly contain comments about that we would not have enough decent tanks or enough healers for those tanks that soon after an unlock. And perhaps they're right. But we never tried. We never really put any serious effort into Grand Slam, and because this achievement was something that I was interested in and that I was excited for, I'm here to tell you my opinion of why I think we never really tried. Sure, a couple weeks ago we planned to do Grand Slam on a particular night. Reportedly, a few of our nerds went out to test and did some experiments to try and crack the puzzle. Like many other guilds, we also had at least a few other members in our guild who had done Grand Slam in Era on prior TLPs. Sure, it was old information, but I believe we should have known enough about the encounter to make a solid plan for it. But we also did not do this early enough, and we did not set ourselves up to give an honest try at the attempt. On the night in question, we also had done a prior hard mode achievement for the Sisters Mages event that we had done also the prior week, but we wanted to do it again. We made an attempt to do that raid with that same achievement on the same night we were going to first attempt Grand Slam. At the time, I was cynical about our chances of doing Grand Slam on the first night of actually attempting it, especially with the first part of the raiding night being allotted to the Sisters achievement for the second time. While my skepticism was obviously correct, ultimately that was my own fault and my own failure as a person. I should have been a little more positive at the time. But don't get it twisted. This is not an attempt at shitting over what a Faceless leader did or did not do. The reality is I probably cared more about our getting this achievement than they did, and that's fine. In their defense, a couple other factors were also certainly at play. In my opinion, compared to what it is now, Faceless previously was a slightly smaller group of players, and the raiding scene in the server was a little more competitive. Some of those words were in air quotes, obviously. I'm partially joking here, but anyone who has played a Mischief knows what I mean. I'm sure many people's experiences on prior TLPs will match what I'm now describing. As the TLP progresses, attrition starts to kick in, guilds start to fade away, or they even just merge. Mischief has experienced less attrition than other servers have, from what I understand, but it has still impacted us. Not to mention the obvious point is that since we are well into the era of all raids being instants, frankly, it doesn't matter what any of the guild does or does not do. But the biggest slap in the face to any person who is wanting to do a challenge raid on a TOP is that damn empowered banner. It does feel like I am in the minority of not liking it. On live servers who get new expansions every 12 months, the empowered banner kicks in after 6 months. As I previously experienced, around that time, a lot of players stop logging in. Summer breaks, they get bored, etc. And that empowered banner and also the increased chest drops surely helps them gear up other new recruits for those guilds. On TOPs, the empowered banner becomes available 1 month after an expansion is unlocked, where most of our expansions we get new content in every 2 months for expansions that do not have a level increase, or 3 months for those that do. The main reason why I hate the empowered banner is that it just makes the game too easy. All characters are doing much more damage, they're healing for a lot more, they're tanking for a lot more, they have a lot more health, a lot more hit points, etc. It is such a night and day difference with this, and I think it's not a stretch to say that it feels like we're going back and doing level 80 content. Some of the people on TOPs who support the banner make excuses for it and say that it allows their guild to continue raiding. They say that for people who want a challenging raid, they can just split their raid down to a smaller size. They say things like it just means you can get more loot per player, so you should love it. I think these mindsets are absurd, and there are several examples of people who say it that I think are lying through their teeth. It seems to me that the majority just likes to breeze through content, but I digress. How the banner is relevant to the topic is there was an automatic internal motivation among our guild to do the achievement before the empowered banner kicked in. We made only the one attempt at this. We still could have attempted the achievement during Underfoot, just without the empowered banner. Obviously, the raid could have been recorded to document that the empowered banner was not used. Naturally, the cynics among us, myself included, certainly recognize that some of the silly haters among the Everquest player base would just say things like, so what? Mischief has tradable loot, it's easier for you, or your video is edited, I don't believe you did not use the empowered banner, you suck, go away, blah blah blah. While we can't deny that Mischief's loot system certainly makes doing challenging things simpler, we would know that it was done with the standard banner instead of the empowered one. Ultimately, I do think the main reason why we did not really put a serious effort into doing this achievement in Underfoot is just that leadership felt there was not enough incentive for us to have done so. Now, obviously, I'm biased here, but I disagree. I think our not doing the achievement in Era is a fact that will always be remembered about Faceless and Mischief, and it's especially true if a future TOP does accomplish the achievement in Era, especially before the banner comes in. It would be absolutely viewed that because they accomplished one of the few remaining challenges in EverQuest that we did not do, that they're better than us. I would have to concede the point to them. For what it's worth, and at the risk of my own ego, I think I was responsible for a good portion of the pressure to do Grand Slam in Era. Sure, there were other people who felt as I did, but I posed the challenge. I posted the promise of a free Grand Slam breakfast to all participating raid members on that night. I even made another recent attempt at something similar to no effect. While obviously I'm not personally to blame for our not having done it, I do have to recognize that my efforts of trying to motivate us to get it done were not effective.